Welcome to Theme Weavers, your weekly wisdom for weaving yoga themes into your classes to inspire your students. We're your hosts, Heidi
and Farron. Welcome back to Theme Weavers, where today I'm excited to interview yoga and movement teacher Mandy. She's amazing. I can't wait for you to hear from her about her back pocket theme. But first, I sadly need to share that it's just me here, the first one half of the Theme Weavers. Farron is at the hospital with her son, who's having a reaction to his cancer treatment, and she couldn't make it today, but she wanted us to still move forward with talking with Mandy. So she's here in spirit with us, but you just get me half of the Theme Weavers, which is a first. But in case this is the first episode you're listening to, please check out episode 2 of the Theme Weavers podcast for details and background on the structure of how and why to weave themes through your yoga classes. Okay, enough about that. So welcome, Mandy, to Theme Weavers. I'll talk a little bit about you for a second, and then you get to tell me what I've missed. So we're so excited that you're here. Mandy is a lover of movement. She is a 500-hour registered yoga teacher, also from Matt Giordano's Chromatic School of Yoga, which is where we met. I got to be Mandy's mentor, right?
Yes.
You're also a Pilates instructor and a retired personal trainer with experience that spans 2 decades. You can find Mandy posting daily movement inspiration in the form of yoga, Pilates, mobility, and pelvic floor work on Instagram and maybe other places too. I don't know. Where do you post?
Yeah. So I'm on Instagram and it automatically posts to Facebook as well. I didn't realize that until like down the road. I'm like, oh, this is posting to, I have a page. Yeah. I didn't realize I had them linked, but yeah.
It's good. That way you don't have to think about both. I like it.
Yeah.
And your content, by the way, like is so fabulous. First of all, to the fact, like I'm obsessed with it. I love your mobility stuff, which we'll talk about in a second. But like, I just love that it's you. Like you're very wholesome and you don't have to look a certain way. Like you make it so inclusive to everybody and any body, right? And I think it's so powerful. I love that about you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So Mandy, wait, I'm not done. There's more about you, right? You also own your own studio for in-person classes. Where is that?
So I'm based out of Kansas City. And so it is in Kansas City, a suburb called Liberty.
What's the name of the studio?
The Practice.
Oh, the Practice. I love
all about the practice. Yeah.
All about it. I love that. And you also host an online program for mobility, and I think you have another one coming on deep core pelvic floor stuff.
Yeah. And it'll probably be just a little bit, but the next one I'm rolling out, I kind of have several programs that I'm planning to roll out this year, and deep core pelvic floor is the next one, followed by yoga. I'll be doing a yoga one at the end of the year. So it's,
When do you have time for all this?
I love all the things, so why not just, put some different things out there that people might want to eat up.
I think it's amazing. When do you have time for all this? Because like I think you also do other things too.
I don't know. I have no idea.
I love it. And okay, so I got to be Mandy's mentor in her 300-hour teacher training. And can I just say, indicative of what we were just saying, you are like the most diligent student ever. You kept me on my toes with questions and wanting to deepen your learning and experience, both with the course and with your current clients and students and teaching. Like you just gobbled that and you were so motivated and you went through the course probably faster than anybody I've ever worked with yet. Yeah. Yeah. So and that is like you do everything and you do it all and you do it so well. And so I'm just really, it's fun to get to welcome you here since it's been a little bit since we've gotten to talk with each other.
Yeah.
It's fun. Okay. What did I leave out? What did I forget?
I mean, I didn't think anything. I think that's it. Yeah. That's in a nutshell. It's good.
Okay, cool. I love it. And you're always like very put together.
I don't know about that.
I don't know. It feels that way. And by the way, I don't think I remember that you were in Kansas City. Isn't that funny when you have like you talk to somebody all the time, but like you're like in a box.
Yeah, right? Yeah, right. I know. It's like, I don't know where you are, but yeah, somewhere.
I'm in Massachusetts. I am in Massachusetts. Okay. No pressure. Have you listened to any of the episodes before yet?
Lately, but I did, I listened to, like, especially when I was working with you, I was eating them up. They're so helpful. So even just as you're talking, I'm like, I need to go back and watch some because this is really going to help. I mean, I'm always looking for nuggets of information that will help me or something that I had heard. That's what I love about your show. Like when I was listening, it was like, this is such a good package of information and the way you layer it in to help me as a teacher, because I need that as a teacher. Otherwise I have nothing to give.
Yeah. That's the goal. I know
So
how hard it is. Like Farron and I talk all the time, and me and other people talk all the time about how there's only so many hours in a day that you're supposed to be able to plan for classes, teach classes, have your own practice, like be a mother or a partner or a friend. And if you have another job, because let's be honest, like how many people only teach yoga classes to be able to make men's eat? Like there's so much to have to do, and there's so little time to be able to actually deepen our knowledge. And we just wanted to be able to help teachers because we lose our inspiration sometimes, right?
yeah.
Like it's hard to do it all. It's really
Yes.
hard.
Yes, absolutely.
Cool. So we like to have on guests about every 5 or so episodes where we try and help our listeners get inspiration from other people as well. And the way that we've been doing it so far is that we ask people about their back pocket sequence. So let me back up for a second. Our classes, we were just talking about this. Our podcast is all about yoga themes that get tied generally
Mm-hmm.
to Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, although we're expanding right now. We're in the middle of a chakras series and
Ooh.
finding inspiration in the chakras, which I'll
I'm
get
going
into in a
back.
few
I'm gonna
minutes.
listen to it all this
All
weekend.
right. You gotta like gobble us up, and you will. Like knowing you, you will like get it all done in a weekend.
You know I will. I'm like, oh man, I'm so interested.
It's really fun. And we want to offer listeners tips to help deliver a Dharma talk on the theme, how to weave that thematic through line phrase through the class, right? You're familiar with this with
Yeah.
chromatic yoga, to remind our students about the theme. Because how often do you go to a class and a teacher's like, today we're going to practice Saucha. Saucha is blah, blah, blah. And then they do the class and they never mention Saucha again. And then maybe at the very end, they're like, oh, shoot, Saucha. Ah, yay, Saucha. And then it comes in. So we want to be able to help weave that through to help our students.
Yeah.
How to match a peak posture with the theme sometimes, and then how to
Mm-hmm.
conclude the class so that students can continue to reflect on their theme off of the mat and into their lives. We've also shared with our listeners that any of these themes might be a back pocket theme. Back pocket themes are ones that we can metaphorically just whip out of our back pocket and use for any yoga class of any style, any time of the day, any season, and with any posture or sequence in mind. It just works. You as a teacher don't really need to prepare for it because you're so comfortable with the theme that you can just show up for class. And like if you had the crappiest day and you have nothing to give your students and you're like, oh, whip it out. I don't even have to think. It's just there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Mandy, what's your back pocket theme?
Man, you didn't prep me for this.
No, I didn't. I totally didn't. I'm just like, come on our podcast and talk to us
Why
about
not?
themes.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I know. I just taught a class this morning. Do you feel like it has to be Sanskrit related or no? Okay.
I want it to be authentic to you. Some teachers that is
Yeah.
authentic, right? Like they always
Yeah.
come back to the scripture. And other teachers, they're like, I just have this quote and this quote moves me to my very core. And I weave this throughout a class.
Mhm. The one that I always go to is, and I can't think of the Sanskrit words, but it's effort and ease. Finding both.
Yeah, I think it's Stira Sukha Asanam,
Yes.
maybe.
I need to, but it's always the two, kind of putting the two together where we're finding the structure, we're finding all of the things, and then like let it just kind of be like that because to me that's kind of life off the mat, where I need to do the things, I need structure, I need that, because otherwise I just Netflix and chill. Or play solitaire. I don't know, like just I
Or do
need
both at the
structure.
same time.
Yeah,
Totally
like
present.
I need the structure, but if I'm too grippy and I'm too in it, it's not sustainable. And so for me, that's kind of my back pocket that I'll pull out. But oftentimes what I'm pulling out of my back pocket is what I'm literally going through. I am trying to live my life in a way that feels a little more online awareness based, that is like, okay, this is actually my back pocket is what's going on right now in my life. So like this morning, my class was all about self-care and not doing the thing that we always do. In a yoga class, it was a flow class. And so I feel like it's very easy. And this is from myself, not judgment on others, where I just get into a flow that I'm used to. Like I go into a pose and it feels like this is what I always do. Like, can I make down dog feel new? Can I just give myself what I need? Or maybe today I'm not going to do down dog because I am exhausted, and like, how can I just care for myself? So I spent the entire time in different postures. And then at the end, just kind of like really weaving in, what do you need today? Because the best gift I think we can give ourselves is meeting ourselves where we are every single day, and then getting a PhD in my own body. Like,
I love that.
what do I need? Like, what do I need? Because I have spent I up until like really diving into yoga and movement, and and it really is like any other education where it layers. It's this coming back home to me, and it's very different every day. So,
I love that. Okay, I love the first one too. So you have two different things. You go with
yeah.
like the effort and softening thing.
Yeah.
Like that's one theme
Hmm.
that you might go to. Then you talk about the fact that like maybe you don't actually have a back pocket, but your back pocket is like tap into what I need as a person now, and like take a moment for me and my practice and figure out what that is and then deliver that to my students. And then you gave today's, which was actually pretty darn awesome. So there's like three separate things there. I want to kind of go to the middle one first for a hot second. So when you teach what you need, right? Like you sit back, you think what it is that you need, and you deliver that to your students. How do you do that in a way that's not also burdening your stuff onto them?
Mm.
Right? Like if you need it, have you dealt with it yet necessarily? And if
Yeah.
you know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah. Part of it, I should say this, part of that is also meshing with the energy of the class, too. And I feel like the boundary that I have within oversharing and not going into something that's feeling way too raw, watering it down, because nobody wants that. Like, it really needs to be from this perspective of, this in my brain, I'm kind of piecing together, this is helpful to me. And then how can I deliver it in a way that meets them where they are, that I'm coming from like their perspective, but not mine. And that's really like a vague, I'm not giving like a specific, I need to think of like a specific,
Well, I think I have a
scenario.
like I'll give today's and you tell me if I'm off. Maybe you needed to teach self-care because you've had like the absolute crappiest day ever. Your nervous system is in overload. You are doing way too many things and you're not putting anything into like settling yourself. I don't know why you taught that, but like maybe that's why. So
Yeah.
then let's say you're going to give your Dharma talk, which I'm going to ask you about in a second, like how you introduced it specifically. But you might say nothing about the fact that you need this and why it is that you're feeling this way and what's going on in your life. You'll just say, today we're going to practice this. And you're doing it because you know it's for like maybe self-led reasons, but without letting them know too much about why, but more just that this is something that you're practicing and you want to share this practice with them. Is that right?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yes, for sure. And part of it was, today I walked in and I was like, how are we feeling today? And one gal said, meh. And then two people are in child's pose. And it's raining outside. I'm taking the weather into the consideration as well. Like, it's gray here, dreary today. And so I'm like, everybody's feeling like a little, but then there's this wisdom of like, it can be really what you need it to be. Some people are needing, like, it was a flow. So I'm like, maybe you need to move some stagnant energy. What is that? Do you? What does that feel like when I say that? Like, giving them an opportunity to respond and facilitating an environment that is very inclusive, and let's keep our ego at the door because we have nothing to prove to anybody. Like, it's just you. Can you dive in and give yourself this hour of caring for yourself in a way that feels so good to you?
I love that. And let me just say, first of all, you're also giving them the skill of swadhyaya, of self-study, right? You're helping them like tune into themselves. And your first theme that we didn't touch on yet actually fits in perfectly with that at the same time. Like you could bring that in too, because if every movement or thing that we flow through, or posture, or whatever you want to say, has a balance of effort and surrender, or effort and ease and effort and softening, can you take every bit of self-care that you're giving yourself right now by tuning into the posture and seeing, what do I need more of here in order to care for myself and find that space of balance?
Yes.
So they
Yes,
kind of go
absolutely.
together.
Totally. And really, the 300-hour training, Swayaya, I have not let that go. It was so transformative for me and kind of an eye opening of like, oh, yeah, that's totally why I've actually really been drawn to yoga all this time because I'm getting to know myself in a way that feels really nice versus the first part of my life just kind of disassociative and detached and unaware. I mean, that was like my life, like, and I did that to protect myself probably, or just maybe I wasn't around people who were modeling that, because there's a lot of just the mirroring of like what other people around me are doing. But it's very nice to kind of have that awareness of like, oh, I don't actually have to do that. And then also I said today, can we not label it good or bad? Like the effort and the ease, right? Because it's so easy to be like, I suck. I feel low energy again, or whatever it is like, can we just like let it be and then
Yeah.
just like honor it?
That's so hard for people. Like the amount
Yeah.
of people that just are even looking around to see what the other person's doing to honor that and then being like, well, then I have to do that too. Like they're detaching from exactly what it is that you're trying to teach and
Mm-hmm.
still going to that level of judgment, labeling, ego. Like I have to, I want to, I got to be better than. Like it's really
Yes.
hard as
Yes. Oh,
humans.
totally. And I even said, I'm like, the type A person, the type A person who's doing all the things and like, I kind of said like, I mean, I kind of get this perspective, like that's me, but that it is very hard for that person to give themselves permission to have more ease. That feels foreign in the body for
Yes.
most people that have spent their entire life energy of just doing all the things.
It's so hard for me. Just yesterday, my watch, right? I'm like attached to this silly watch that constantly tells me things. And it's like, your personal battery is at like 3%. You need to rest. I'm like, I do, but it also says that I've only had like 4,000 steps today. And that also, so I think I actually need to like get to the 10,000. And so it's like, alert, alert, rest, rest. And I'm like, no, I must go. I must do. Like, I have to, like, it's really hard.
You have
It's
effort and ease on your wrist.
Oh my God. It's like, dude, you're efforting too much. Soften. I'm like, no, I disagree. Apple Watch. No,
Yeah.
I throw you onto
Yes.
the charger. Like, screw the
Yes.
charger. It's so hard. I don't know. But there's probably people that are the opposite. I have a friend in my life who's like totally the opposite of me. And I know we're not talking about the gunas right now, but like Rajas and Tamas, right? Like the fiery energy versus like the lethargy. But it kind of reminds me similar of like the softening. And so I live in Rajas, right? Like I have a lot of energy and it takes a lot to get me balanced into a more like balanced space. This friend lives in total lethargy. Like she can nap 5 times a day. Like it is so she's just like one of those people that just like caves into the couch. Like and she loves people and she loves doing things, but her nature is to like be blobby, whereas my nature is to be like bouncing off of the ground,
Yeah.
and we got to meet in the middle, right? Like as individuals and as friends. But you need to pay attention to that stuff because it's really easy to keep feeding the energy that you already have within you.
Totally. Totally. Which, yeah, it just goes back to that swayaya, which I love, the layers of being, how we're just like peeling away the koshas and getting down to like, what is it really in me that feels the best? If I can like continue the practice of going through the motions and the dedication to learning myself.
Yeah. Also, that way we can have a more peaceful and connected experience in this now, in this
Hmm.
moment. It's
Yeah.
so cool how it all leads back to the same place, right?
Yeah,
All this stuff, whether
absolutely.
you're doing like a sutra themed class or just like a life themed class, like it still comes back to like yoga is now. And here we are.
Yes, totally.
I
Totally.
love that. I love
Yeah.
that. Okay, so tell me if I'm missing anything. So with your class today, let's just go with this as your back pocket theme because it's like very
Okay.
resonant. So your Dharma talk, and maybe you want to give it, like you want to pretend I'm your student, but like I hear you introducing the idea of self-care, of honoring yourself, what you need today, and like leaving no ego amigo, leave it at the door. Like it's not necessary. Just give yourself what you need to be able to feel a space of caring for you,
Hmm.
and that's going to help you be like, what are the problems that solves? You're less stressed, you're more balanced, all that kind of a thing. And the challenges that arise, I think that you really hit on too, were your ego, right? I feel like that's the biggest, to me, that's the biggest challenge, right?
Yeah, and I said I kind of introduced it. They were in child's pose just as we were grounding, and I was just like, I can't remember the words I used. It was just kind of like really dig into the ground, like let your body like get in there, and like you just drop your body off, and you're just plunk there, no effort, zero. And then when I introduced self care, I did say this also could be a trigger because that could be like, oh, I feel guilty, I feel, what pops up, like there are words that can just like bring up these things whether we realize it or not, within our body, within our mind, even just the spirit around like, is that okay, is that okay for you to do right now, you know so yeah, I kind of said all that to just kind of introduce it, frame it. And then throughout the class there was so many opportunities to like care for yourself here. What do you need? So
I love that. Okay. So they're in the class now. That's just because
yeah,
we've
okay.
talked about it. So they're in the class. Tell me about you said it was a flow-based class. So
Hmm.
is there like a peak posture, or are you just moving them with breath? So tell me about the physical practice, and then some of the thematic through line phrases. It sounds like, what do you need? Like,
Hmm.
take me through some of that.
Yeah, it was a flow class. There was no peak posture today, other than no, the there was no peak. It was more like a complete class where we just kind of did a lot of flowing, but then a little more pausing. Like, I'm gonna pause in Warrior One with cactus arms, and just like, what does that feel like? Does that feel good? Does it feel hard? Does it feel like you need to change something about it? Um, to kind of be able to become aware, right? Because like when we move too quickly, it's hard to even catch on to what's going on.
Yeah,
So,
we're not even there. Mhm.
so we went through some pretty slow sun A's. Like I do some warm ups, and then the slow sun A's, we really lowered slowly from top of a push up, lowered just like real slow down to feel into it and notice, like, does that feel like it's also information of like, and I move really slowly. What's coming up here? Like, it's hard. I notice I want to go quickly. And is that actually caring for myself when I'm moving quickly out of
Mm.
and escaping out of the discomfort?
I
Because,
love
like,
what you're
really,
saying
when you get
here.
into it, we skip the hard parts. Is it really caring for ourselves?
I
Sometimes it is,
love
sometimes
that.
it's not.
I love that, because people think self-care and they think like, go take a bubble bath, right?
Yeah,
Like they think rest. But you're bringing to them that like, it is still self-care when you push yourself and you do hard things and make
yeah,
yourself stronger and
yeah.
resilient, and like abut that resistance that you might have.
Hmm.
That's self-care too.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I love this. So this is
Yeah.
not just like a chill class
No,
necessarily. There's
no.
challenge.
Yeah. So we did like we did the sun A's, we did a sun B, and then I did a sun C that was very closely mimicked. The sun, my sun B's are sometimes like not just a traditional warrior
Chair,
one.
warrior
And
one. Yeah.
yeah, it's typically I'm adding, it's either a crescent warrior or, something like that. But it was warrior one with some cactus arms, a humble warrior, and whatever. So we added on with sun C. The reason I did that was I wanted it to be simple for the brain, like not a lot of thinking, so that they can kind of get into their body a little bit more with the flow of, how is this feeling? Opportunity to move the energy through the body, like knowing if that's the right thing, knowing if we need to skip a vinyasa and just take child's pose or whatever. So, and then we did some standing work, some balance work. Utthita Hasta Pada Goose Dasana. I know I was working my
Were you like, shoot, I'm
hands
talking to
really
Heidi, I
good.
gotta practice this.
Yeah, and just the phases of it, like whenever Matt talks about, like, just like we started out with grabbing the hamstring and extending and straightening the leg, and then grabbing the peace fingers around the big toe and just hang out there, like with the knee in, maybe that's it. And just like being there, like that's great. That's self-care. You
Yes.
don't have to go further.
Yes.
So yeah. And then we did some core work because I was like, let's just move. Yeah.
I'm
We
that
did.
I'm that girl in the back that's always like core.
It was literally laying on your back. No, okay, yogi bicycles,
Yeah.
but your head stays down and you just move your legs and
I
you're
love
just
that.
breathing. Yeah.
Actually, I just want to like give a little plug here because you one of your posts, it was like an old one, and then you did a more recent one and like tagged the old one with core work and showing the levels of how it's all core and how to do it was was very transformative for me and my personal body because I have a low back injury, right? And it's been a long time. And for me, a lot of core work makes me dump into my back and hurt myself and then not be able to do what I want to do later because nerve pain comes in. And ego is involved, obviously. And I'm like, I need to be able to push myself and do what's offered because the teacher's watching me, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's not why
Yeah.
I'm still
Yeah.
here. But then I was watching your stuff and I was like, damn, this is really good. Like, I can still do this and work my core probably better than I would otherwise because I'm actually doing it. And my head and shoulders are still on the ground. And it's like a small movement, but like, oh boy, like I feel this.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
good
That was
stuff.
probably a little bit from the Pilates world where, in my opinion, Pilates, less is always more because we're working from the deeper muscles. And often when we ramp up the intensity to make it like harder because we think harder is better, it does kind of like, I'm not feeling it there or whatever, So it's like this getting to know your deep core and the
Yeah.
muscles that don't typically like a lot of the times just don't want to turn on for us or work for us. They
Yes.
want to
And
hang out.
I love it. You did stuff with like the block on the thigh and like the push. Like it was just really good. It was good stuff.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. No, it was good. I don't know why. Oh, because you said core and it made me think
Core.
of
Yeah.
that.
You're like, core. I
Like, I don't
know.
like core, but I do like that core. That was good
Yeah.
core.
Yeah. Yeah. Core that feels good because for a lot of people, there's core has also a trigger word where it's like, I hate that because every time I do it, it hurts me.
That's right. That's right.
And so, yeah, a lot of that honestly was from just an old back injury and the Pilates training I had, but really saw a physical therapist for a lot of years. And they're so good at just getting into like the nitty gritty of like, typically what our body wants to do is it's always the path of least resistance.
Yes.
So it's like, how can I trick my body and become more aware? The other thing is the mental energy it takes to connect to those muscles. It's mentally exhausting. Some people veer away from it because they just want to numb out with movement.
Yeah, it's really hard. I remember when I hurt my back and I had all that nerve pain, my neuromuscular connection became like very depleted on the left side of my body. And like I had like muscles that were not, I could not for the life of me engage them. Like there was nothing I could do to engage them. And that had never happened to me before. And my PT was like, well, that's what happens when you have nerve pain and nerve damage. Like that's not your fault. It's not that you're weak, but like it's just that your body right now cannot fire there because it needs to heal. And no amount of staring at your left glute is going to make it work. Like, so just stop for now.
Yeah,
And
yes,
that's okay.
yes.
I remember when I got hurt, Matt, I was having like a little pity party and Matt said to me like, okay, cool. Now you can use your physical therapy time to be the biggest educational experience of your life. Like go learn more than you thought that you could. Ask questions about every single little thing and you will be a better teacher because of it.
Absolutely. 100%. I was like, I'm a patient, but I am your student.
Right? And my medical insurance will cover that.
Yeah.
That's the best kind.
Yes.
I love that. I love
Yes.
that. I just want to go back really quickly because you were like, well, it wasn't necessarily that I had like a peak pose. I just want to bring it back for a second because we're both chromatic teachers, right? And I feel like you sort of are like, well, it's okay because, right, a chromatic yoga class can have either a peak pose with a physical through line or it can have a peak theme. I don't know, you wouldn't really say that, but like a thematic through line. So
Yeah.
whatever kind of class you're teaching, by weaving the theme, giving the topic, weaving it throughout the class, teaching students about that, deepening their understanding of themselves and their experience, and then like bookending it at the end, wrapping it back up, like that is a very solid yoga class.
Yeah. So we ended with alternate nostril breathing after our Shavasana because I
Oh,
said, we hadn't done it in a while. We hadn't done it in a
Yeah.
while. And I said, honestly, I'm just going to throw this out there that for me, it just feels nice. So let's just experiment. Does it feel nice to you or does it not? It totally doesn't matter. But for me, it's getting, the left and the right brain. It's, kind of working the whole what? Naughty. I don't even know. Yeah.
So the nadis are the channels, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Nadi Shodhana is like when you're
Yes. Yes.
switching
Yes.
between the Ida and the Pingala, right?
Yeah.
Are the different
Yeah.
channels, and the Shushumna in the middle.
Yes. I'm going to
People are
go
just
also back through all the philosophy.
You're fine.
Yeah.
But actually, you just
Yeah.
totally inspired me because I have never taught pranayama after Shavasana. And I feel like what a cool thing to do with the theme of like samskaras, right? Our patterns that we have, our grooves, our ruts, and our habits. And we all have the habit that Shavasana ends, we do our
Yes.
breath, we roll over, we're done. Like,
Yes.
what if I like shake all that up and switch it up on you? And
Yeah.
oh, what's going to happen?
Yes, totally,
I
totally.
love that.
I have been stuck on that for a little while because I enjoy pranayama, so it's kind of comes from a selfish place where I'm like, it just feels good to me. It's not a lengthy pranayama, but it's just something to give them. So today that felt like the right thing to do, but
Love that.
yeah.
Well, you were listening to yourself and having your own
Yeah,
self-care.
yeah, because I think what I've learned recently, I don't know, is really trusting my own intuition on what the class needs.
Mm.
And that has helped me so much. I remember when you and
Cecilia.
Cecilia were mentoring me, and I'm just like, there's all these phases that we can go through as a yoga teacher of just like not being good enough or like comparison and like I want everybody to like me, and like I knew all those things in my mind, but to really kind of go like, let's just try out this authentic place, me, trust my judgment, trust my intuition, because those are the teachers I'm drawn to. The teachers who are like getting in there, doing their own stuff, learning, but really they're coming at their teaching from a place that's deep within them.
I agree. I mean, I think I've talked to you about this. I don't plan a single one of my classes. Like I walk in, sometimes I'll have an idea because I'll be driving there and it'll just like pop in my head. But I get there and I start every class with, hey, happy Tuesday, Thursday, whatever it is. Hope everybody's doing great. Any requests for practice today? And like I have no idea what's gonna come out. Today was neck. Somebody wanted to do this. I'm like, all right, cool, let's do it. And then I sit there and scan my brain for a second and then we go. Last week, somebody was like, oh, what did we do? We were opening up the side body, which was delicious. But then at the last minute, somebody's like, my feet are killing me. Can we do feet? I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
we can. All right, yes, all right. Let's get weird in here, peeps. And
Yes.
like
Yes.
we did toe flossing with the
Yes.
fingers between the toes, and did like plantar and dorsiflexion with the fingers, and everybody's like with their faces.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, I love this. This is like this. I'm really teaching them. Like we're really having a conversation right now. Like forget. Like it doesn't matter if it's weird
Yeah.
or maybe some of them will never want to come back, but they love it. And they came back the next time. And one of them told me she wrote on her mirror next to where she brushes her teeth, floss your toes, because she wants this to be like a normal thing that she does also because
That is
her feet hurt
amazing.
so bad. And I knew you would love it because you love the yogi toes.
I do.
Right?
I love
Yeah.
them. I love them. Oh, I love it. I love that getting in there. And when you're talking, I'm like, okay, truth be told, I didn't plan the class this morning either.
Yeah.
Because I think it's you. I think it's because I think you had told me that. And I'm like, and you know what ends up happening is things just like work out really well. Because
Yeah.
while I can have like a structure and a plan that feels comfortable, it's just felt really good. I've just been experimenting with it and it feels like, wow, this is great. Like we started out in child's pose and we went to the right and we went to the left. People were trickling in. And then I had them tip up into puppy dog pose. I had never done this before. And
Just came out.
we went to the right and to the left in puppy dog pose. And I was like, huh, where did that come from? But it was just like things like that that'll kind of come up that I'm like, this just feels right in the moment.
Yeah.
And sometimes if I get too stuck on my plan, I miss all that good stuff that I feel like, kind of aligns like the energy within the room. And so within all of us in the room.
I don't think everybody can do that though, right? Like
Yeah.
I need to do it that way because if I had a plan, I would be so busy reading my head and remembering the plan that I would miss out on everything and all the opportunities. And I wouldn't feel that connection with my students as much because I'm not paying as much attention to them as I am to whatever I had planned. So that's why I don't do it. But let's be real, you have to have a lot of experience to be able to do that. You have to understand the human body. You have to be confident as a teacher. You need to understand like the typical arc of a class without giving it any thought, and then you can like plug and play, right?
Yeah.
But that takes a lot of time to be able
Yeah.
to get to that point. And like you and I have both been in front of bodies for a really long time, whether it's yoga or another movement.
Yeah.
And like even as a social worker and a professor in college, like I was used to teaching people. So like
Yeah.
you have that background. Whereas like if you're just coming in, oh my God, that'd be impossible. Could
Oh
you
yeah. And
imagine?
I feel like that's just happened in the last maybe 6 months. I had everything I would rehearse. I mean, so it's going through the phases, new teachers. I'm telling all the new teachers at my studio, if I have a lot of people who are getting their 200 hour, I'm not offering it, but somewhere else. And I'm like,
Yeah.
just teach your friends, teach your friends, teach your family, just teach, just get in the habit, just work that
Yes.
practice, and then go through the phases, like go through like really dissecting a class and learning it and teaching it, and then it just like kind of gets integrated. So yeah, I think I do a mixture. Sometimes I plan, and sometimes I'm like, I just feel like
Like you just
it's
want to
kind
be
of what life, because
inspired.
when you teach a lot, it is kind of like an ebb and flow.
It is. And it evolves like if you're in the practice and going to other people's classes, or it's been really busy and you haven't been able to practice at all, right? Like it just depends on all the things. There's so many factors.
Yeah.
So for today's class with the Nadi Shodhana happening after Shavasana, did you wrap up the theme and bring it back to self-care at all, either before or after that? Like how did you put like a pretty bow on the whole thing?
Yeah, after we finished our pranayama, and I just said, close your eyes and just breathe. Like, notice how you feel. Notice what you did today. Notice anything that comes up. Because for me, a lot of it's just the self awareness. And I want to subconsciously or consciously weave into their systems the notice. Notice what you notice, how you feel, and can we take this off the mat today and care for ourselves in a way that feels nice? And maybe it feels weird, and that's okay.
I love when
Because
teachers,
sometimes we're not
I
used
love
to
that.
caring for ourselves.
That's right. That's right. Or like people have this weird impression that it's like selfish to care for
Yeah.
yourself,
Yeah.
which it's not, but that in and of itself can be a practice for people to let go of that judgment and value. I love that. I'm also picturing like if you were to like package this class with a name for yourself, it's like self-study as self-awareness or
Yeah.
something, right? Like cuz
Yeah.
you're bringing it all back to that. Cuz
Yes.
when you're accused of like notice or what do you feel or how do you feel or what do you need? Like that's all self-study.
Totally. Totally. Yeah.
I love
Which
that.
is helpful. Yeah.
I like packaging things up cuz
I like that. Yes,
My
that's
type A
good.
brain, oh, it needs it.
It's good though, because I think then it's accessible for other people to like understand it.
That's the
It's
goal.
yeah.
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 And every time you teach something, especially if it's like your back pocket and you whip it out, like every time you do it, it's going to change and it's going to come out differently. And you're sussing it out as a teacher too, right? Like if you're teaching the same thing multiple times in multiple ways, you're getting better at it each time you teach it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So
Yeah,
it
for
evolves,
sure.
which is cool. I love that.
Yeah.
All right, so this is awesome, Mandy. All what we do next, we as a Farron, we're still here, but I
Okay.
mean, she's still here. It's not like she's not
Yes,
here. She's just like not here.
right.
But she'll listen to this, and we'll condense it all into what we call an inspo sheet, which is like an inspirational sheet. They're cute, and our listeners can grab them off of our website. This one you'll find at themeweversyoga.com/episode 35. And you'll find the link also in the show notes, and we share all that everywhere. But you can use that inspo sheet to bring Mandy's back pocket theme of self-awareness as self-care, or whatever we want to call it. And you can bring that alive in your own voice and in your own practice and teaching. And Mandy, if our listeners want to find you online or your studio, where can they go? Where do they find you? Who do they follow?
Instagram, I'm Mandy Froehlich _, which I realize is a very
Yeah, you have to spell
hard
that.
name
You
to
definitely
spell.
have to spell that.
Spell it Froehlich.
All right. We'll have that written down, obviously, also in the show notes.
Yeah. And then, I'm there. I'm there on Facebook as well. And then Mandy-Froehlich.com is where you can find the programs that I'm offering right now, past ones, previous ones. My platform is basically there's not right now anyway, there's not a reoccurring, it's like buy a program, lifetime access. And the coolest thing about it is the mobility program right now that I have, you buy it, you keep it, and then I add here and there some new things.
I didn't know. I bought it. I've been doing it. I love it. So I didn't, and I love that they're 10 minutes, everybody.
10 minutes.
Like they're 10
minutes.
It's so accessible. And like I've been doing them before bed just to like stretch everything out in my body at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And it makes me excited because I'm always like, oh wow, my body's more mobile than I remember it being. Like this feels nice. Yay. But you give a cute little calendar also to help people know what to do.
Yeah, jumpstart. Yes. Yeah.
You did such a good job.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
And what about if people are in Kansas City?
Oh, people in Kansas City, it's the practice-studio.com. The Practice in Liberty, Missouri. Yep.
Liberty, Missouri. I don't know that I will ever be in Liberty, Missouri, but if I am, or if any of our listeners are, you got to go because Mandy's amazing. Yes. I love it. I love it. Thank you for being here. And of course, listeners, you can reach out to us, Theme Weavers Yoga, on Facebook, Instagram, on email, and let us know how Mandy's back pocket theme leans with your students. She'll want to know, and we'll definitely tell her. We're here to support you, fellow yoga teacher, in your class preparation and delivery. So let us know how we can be of the most support. And tune in next week for another episode of Theme Weavers. And until next time, we weave you in peace.